Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Hey, thank you for being part of the program, whether you're a long-time listener or a first-time finder of the program. It's the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show, talking gardening and all things landscaping and everything in between. Before we get into what you're going to have the options to do with apples and pears, Farm Defense has some tools that will help you, not only picking apples and pears, but anything that you have to do in the garden.
Farm and garden, the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense has made a wicking material and UBF protection factor 50 plus to protect you from allergens and scratches. To find all their great products and more, visit farmersdefense.com. So let's talk about using those the apples and pears.
Yes.
And any other fruit that might be
we're going to
similar?
focus on apples and pears. Apples and pears, oh my.
Isn't there like another fruit? Maybe is it a persimmon that's like an apple or pear? I don't know.
This is not rehearsal. Okay. This is the radio. we're doing this for everybody. Everybody can hear us when we talk to each other now.
The fruit guessing hour. All right. Well, anyway, you can do lots of stuff with apples and pears.
Whether you have your own orchard or a few trees, or you go to a pick your own farm, or you find them at the farmer's market or roadside stand. There's a lot of things in which you can do with these two fruits.
What's my favorite fruit, Joey?
Pumpkin?
No, that's not a fruit.
I don't know.
How do you not know what my favorite fruit is?
We just went over this. This is live. they can hear us while we talk.
Apples. Apples are my favorite fruit.
Okay. All right.
And I don't like those garbage apples.
What's the garbage apples?
Like green apples.
Okay.
I don't like them.
Somebody is just tuned out because I like green apples, and if that girl doesn't like it, I'm done with the show.
Well, to each their own. So anyway, I don't judge anybody for eating green apples. I just don't like them. So anyway, you can them, which probably seems obvious, but maybe you don't know that. So you can can them. Pears, apples, it's really easy. You can create a light syrup, or you can can them in their own juice. You can add cinnamon. You can, you can make it happen. And then it's nice because you have they're a little bit soft once you can them, but then you can add them to like a fruit salad, or you can add them as a easy side for dinner, something like that, or just like a nice little dessert. And you can can those apples and pears.
Well, if you don't want to can them, you can certainly dehydrate them and make apple chips or pear chips. Or you can make apple tea and pear tea by the dehydration and then the rehydrating in water. Don't look at me like that. People do this.
I know, but we tried it and
I didn't mind it. You didn't care much for it. I didn't mind.
It just, I don't know, there's something I didn't like about it, but that's okay. All right. So yeah, you can dehydrate them for that reason. You can make pies, which is obviously a good use of them, and you could even use your canned fruit to make that pie. You just want to make sure you drain it really well.
Now, do you have to when you can that to make your pie? Or you're talking about we water bath it, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to use it as a apple pie filling or pear pie filling, or can you can the fruit itself and then?
You would just can the fruit itself if you don't want to do like a pie filling.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And both could be done in water bath.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can make, and what we've done, we used to have a pear tree. Poor thing died. Nobody knew how old it was, and it died. And we would take and make the pie, the crust, to do everything.
I think that tree was 100 years old, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then we would make it and put it in an aluminum pie pan, and then wrap it in aluminum foil and put it in the deep freeze. And when we wanted it, we pulled it out and threw it right in the oven. Kind of like what you would get in the frozen food aisle at your grocery store.
In the frozen food aisle at your local grocer.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, that was something that we did. And then speaking of pie, the pie filling, this is a special thing that you have to get. It's called clear gel, which is mostly found online. Sometimes you can find it at farm store, like farm
rare general store type of thing.
Yeah. But it's really fun to make, and all you do is you just crack open that jar, pour it into a 9-inch pie crust, and then you put a crust on top or like a crumbly thing on top, and you have a pie.
It does have an expiration date, so be aware of that. Don't go buying 5 pounds if you only need just a little bit and you don't intend to use the 5 pounds or the 3 pounds or whatever. So you can do that. You can make cinnamon apple applesauce with your apples or pears, pear sauce. We've made both. It turned out quite well. And when you can the applesauce or the pear sauce, you can incorporate the cinnamon into it you don't have to wait and do that post after you open it. That can be part of the ingredients because it's a raw ingredient. It's not a additive that has emulsifiers or anything like that in it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So it's all good. You can make something called pear chutney, and it's good with some or apple chutney. It's good with like a pork chop or a ham. It gives some sweetness to the saltiness.
Would you for people who don't know, that's kind of like a fancy
like sauce kind of
sauce or jelly.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's really good, even just by itself on bread. But because of the ingredients,
it's almost like a marmalade, but not as jelly.
Right, but it's got unique ingredients that complement pork.
Yeah.
That in it.
Well, a lot of people will eat applesauce with pork. So this is kind of similar, but it's just a little bit fancier.
Fancier,
yeah. Fancier. We made
around here we put jam on our meat.
Right. So anyway, you can make pear honey or apple honey.
This takes a lot of sugar and a lot of time. With the pears, when we did the pear,
not time.
Don't confuse people.
Yeah.
You would take the skins, and it's been many years since we've done this because of the time it took. You would peel the skins off the pears, and then you would boil them down, and then it was something crazy to the point of if you had 4 cups of water, you would add 4 cups of sugar, and you'd almost create a paste, and you would cook it down until you boiled more water off until it got to almost a honey consistency, and it was just a tremendous amount of sugar.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a
lot of sugar.
But it was a lot of sugar.
Yeah. And if you are vegan, because I know some vegans, not all vegans, but some vegans don't eat bee honey, you could make
because it comes from
an animal.
Regardless if the animal is alive and still alive following the
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can make this because it is like a it is a honey. It tastes like honey. It's delicious.
But just be aware of the amount of sugar.
Yeah.
Whether it's natural or not, that's still a lot of sugar that you're incorporating in to make a honey.
Right. Absolutely. So.
And you can make apple bread and pear bread. You can incorporate that into in your bread machine, or if you do it by hand, you can certainly do that. Roasted apples, roasted pears, either in the oven or in the microwave, is also a good thing. If you've got a lot of them, the shelf life is not indefinite. You've got somewhat of a shelf life with these because, if a tomato has a week and a half or 2 week shelf life, you could probably squeeze out a month on apples. But as they get older, they get more punky or more dried out, more styrofoamish like material.
Yeah.
And they don't go through the juicer very good, and they're not that palatable, but you eat them because, I grew them or I bought them and I don't want to waste them. So utilize them in a timely manner so you can get the most out of what you've purchased or you've grown.
Right on. That's exactly what you want to do. So if you buy a bunch of apples or pears, you want to have a plan. Yeah. What you're going to do with them.
Jams, jellies.
Jams is easy to make.
I've asked you this before. Difference between jam and jelly is?
Jam has like the chunks of fruit in it.
Okay.
Jelly is smooth.
Okay.
Smooth. So anyway, you can make jam, you can make jelly, you can make jam and jelly. And you can make apple, like a juice jelly. Basically, you just take the juice and turn it into a jelly. Mm-hmm. So there's some options there. Some people have those juice presses. Maybe you got one from somebody, they gave it to you. You can make juice with the apples and pears and then make some jelly.
Apple cider and apple juice. They're two different things. One's shelf stable. Well, in the grocery store, one's pasteurized, shelf stable. The other can ferment. And I'm assuming you could make wine with these juices as well.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but yes, you probably could.
So you can make jams, jellies. Freezing pears is an option as well. If you don't want to can them, how do you freeze them?
You would you would blanch them a little bit,
Okay.
or you could freeze them whole. It depends what you want to do with them. So if you want to maintain the integrity of the pear itself, you would blanch it a little bit and freeze it. Or I think might be able to flash. No, you wouldn't be able to do that because they would turn brown. So you would want to blanch them a little bit and freeze it. If it was something where you were just going to freeze them for recipes that they would be hidden, like maybe like pear bread or
They're gonna. It's like a tomato. When you freeze a tomato, it goes, but
Yeah.
the good stuff's still in it,
Yeah, so you can.
and it makes that noise.
That's the noise it
Yeah,
makes
it
when
makes
it freezes.
when it thaws out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not part of the dress rehearsal right now?
No.
Anyway, yeah. So freezing them option. Pear or apple butter. This is probably a very familiar sauce.
It's a sauce. It's not like you use it to lubricate this cast iron. It's not butter.
No, I don't know how it got its name but a lot of people usually know about apple butter. You can do the pears too, and it's something that you would want to make. It takes a while to cook down. So you just take mashed pears, cook them down, and then you just keep cooking them. You can use a slow cooker, and because of this process of how they cook down, it still turns out sweet, but you don't have to add any extra sugar. So it's just because of the slow cooking. And I've done this where you take a crock pot, and then when you take that crock pot, you want to vent the lid, because if you don't vent the lid, then it's
not going to do any good.
Yeah, you're just gonna end up with hot apple mush. So the condensation needs to escape somewhere.
So a jar.
Yeah. So you just
twist it about 30 degrees. So
whatever you have to do. Yep. And I took like little tinfoil balls and propped the lid up because we have cats and I don't want a bunch of cat fur getting in there. So yeah, you just cook this down, and I think one time I cooked it down for like almost 48 hours.
Now, do you stir it frequently, or you just let it go?
I would just stir it occasionally. It wasn't
because it's a crock pot. It shouldn't boil and burn the stuff to the base. It's not like you got direct heat coming off a stove.
Right. And so if you are, energy conscious, you might utilize some of your energy a little bit, your home energy, but it's worth it. And that way you don't have to sit there and over a stove and stir and make sure you're not burning it.
Well, Holly, summer is over and the kids are back in school and the nights are getting longer and colder in some places. And let's be honest, you have forgotten about your yard because you're tired and you're giving up. But you shouldn't. No,
you shouldn't. Just because it's fall, we don't want to forget about our yards. And those Japanese beetles, they may be gone, but they're not far. They feast on your roses and berries. They probably laid eggs in your turf, so they can start again next year. You can take a stand with Phylum's Grub Gone. Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT granule that specifically targets scarab pests and their larvae. Simply apply the granule with a spreader, irrigate into the soil, and let the naturally occurring bacteria do its job.
Not only is Grub Gone easy to use, but it is the only non-chemical choice that effectively controls grubs. And the best part about it, it's non-toxic to bees and other pollinators, plus the beneficial insects. In fact, Grub Gone has no label restrictions for use around flowering plants, so you don't have to worry about them being damaged now or later, such as dandelions, daffodils, whatever you got, not going to have any problems. Grub Gone from Phylum Bioproducts. Grub Gone from Phylum Bioproducts, the natural choice, at phyllumbioproducts.com, at grubgone.com as well.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.